Let's start off with our game of the weekend, shall we? And it's the big game tonight between Burnley and Sunderland at Turf Moor. A Burnley win is 5-4 with SBK. A Sunderland win is 11-4 with SBK. The draw is 11-5 with SBK. The big question is, though, Justin, what derby is this?
It's the Russell Anderson derby. Of course it is.
Oh, no, it's not. It's the Stephen Fletcher derby, of course. Always liked Stephen Fletcher, I do. I think he's quite an underrated striker.
Yeah, it's
or was.
It's one of those strikers.
We made that clear. I don't know how he's doing at Wrexham nowadays.
Oh yeah, neither do I really. But I know his hair's going strong, which is great because that's recovered. He did go bald at one point.
Could have put down a huge amount of money on you mentioning his hair transplant at some point.
Hair transplants fascinate me. They really do. They really, really do. And kudos to anyone who gets them. I think you're braver than I. You're braver than I.
His is probably the most extreme example, though, wasn't it? Because he was essentially bald by the time he decided to get a hair transplant. And then next week he turned up one week playing for Stoke, I think, with basically a top knot. And you were like, how's this happened then? It was good stuff.
That's great. You go from bald to having a top knot. What a transition that is.
It's incredible. It's
incredible.
It's an amazing turn of events. But I tell you what, Justin, what a how's your mother this one is. This is juicier than a big old watermelon. Obviously, because firstly, it's a meeting between two sides in the top four, which is always going to be juicy in our eyes. But also because Burnley have only lost twice this season, right? One of those two losses was at the hands of Sunderland. Now, it should be pointed out Burnley had a massive selection dilemma at the time because of players potentially leaving in the final days of the summer transfer window. But it's still a nice little bit of extra spice to add to this already saucy affair, Justin.
Yeah, it's quite crazy, isn't it? That contrast going back to then, because there was a lot of drama, wasn't there, going into that game for Burnley? Because Scott Parker was seething at not knowing who he can play. It wasn't down. I don't think there was an injury crisis. It was literally down to we don't know who's going to be here, and that contrast to now, where Burnley are very, very strong defensively, one of the best teams, or the best team we've seen at this stage of the season so far in the Championship history. Yeah, it's incredible, and that only adds to such a big fixture. And this is a big game. Sunderland had their number once, Burnley, but it's not going to be the same game. It really isn't, because I think Burnley have found themselves an identity which they're now embracing, and I think that's going to be difficult for Sunderland.
Yeah, it definitely is. I suppose another bit of added spice, if we needed any more for this big old juicy game, is that these two clubs are reportedly fighting over Tom Cannon as well. So I imagine he'll be someone watching this one closely. But they've also been linked with Morgan Whittaker. So they're clearly looking for more firepower going forwards, aren't they, Justin? Because it's blatantly obvious that one area that doesn't need improving is at the back. And you have mentioned it here, Justin. I don't think we can talk about it enough, to be honest. Their defensive record, just 9 goals in 26 games this season. They've conceded. They're the first team in Championship history to concede fewer than 10 at this stage of a season. It is an insane record. And if Sunderland do want to get a result here, one of the things they'll likely have to do is find a way to breach that watertight Burnley defence.
It is the definition of watertight, isn't it? And I don't think it's quite incredible, really, how good it has been, because if you look at the numbers, Leeds do actually have a better record when it comes to keeping good chances out. But I think when you've got a goalkeeper like James Trafford, who statistically has been one of the top performing goalkeepers in terms of save percentages this season, so the shots that he is facing, he's pretty much saving as well, even though it's not coming in huge volumes. Just painting a picture for, unfortunately, for Ilya Meslier in the Leeds goal. But onto Burnley, you're basically trying to breach several different walls. The midfield is graft heavy. You've got Josh Laurent, Josh Cullen, you've got Josh Brownhill, a trio of Joshes. I don't know why
all the Joshes.
Yeah, that's literally just dawned on me now. There's 3 Joshes in that midfield. That must be the first time in Championship history we've seen that. Someone please dig that out. Completely pointless stat, but you've got the hard-working graft of that midfield. Then you've got the back four, which has become impenetrable, and then you've got James Trafford. It's an incredible feat to have that. Obviously, going forward, they can be better, but when you're that good defensively, I don't think your margin for error is much smaller, which is a good thing.
Yeah, when you're that good defensively, you're always going to be near the top end of the table, aren't you? And it is interesting when if you look at the underlying data, because that actually says Leeds are better at the back than Burnley, but have conceded 10 goals more. One of the reasons for that is because Ilhan Meslier is not very good. But one of the big differences between Burnley and Leeds is Burnley have the best XG per shot faced ratio in the division, which essentially means most of the shots they're facing aren't very good chances. So they're just excellent at keeping teams at arm's length and reducing the chances of the opposition when they come. And you're absolutely right to point out James Trafford, Justin. He's just a top keeper, isn't he? It's an utter nightmare scoring against them, because even when you do get a sight of goal, which is very rare against this Burnley team, you've got to try and also beat one of the best keepers in the division. And that's how they are here at this stage, but also they've shown on multiple occasions they know how to punish sides who are expansive against them. So if Sunderland are to get a result here, they need to have their wits about them, don't they?
Well, that's it, isn't it? And you're asking a lot of a team that is a young side to go out and do that. But I think, the key really takeaway is that Regis Lebris has got something so well drilled. You know, we were speaking last week about how Joe Bellingham has turned into a bit more of from a technical number 10 to a workhorse of a number 8 with a lot of technical quality this season. That's a turnout for the books, and also a point in the point of the hat to Regis Lebris for putting that system in place for Sunderland, where it's work rate first, it's defensive responsibilities first, then we attack. And I think both managers pretty much sit on the pragmatic side of the footballing spectrum. But what that does lend to here is a very, very good contest, and it's going to be technical quality. It's going to be individual quality that gets a team ahead in this game. It depends who takes their moment. Whether that's Sunderland or not, they've done it before and they've proved it time and time again that they can do it. But Burnley have matured throughout the season. So, yeah, what a humdinger.
Yeah, it's a really, really fascinating game, isn't it, Justin? You mentioned Joe Bellingham there. Could he be lining up alongside Enzo Lefebvre for Sunderland? Of course, there's been a lot of excitement around this signing after he joined on a loan with an obligation to buy if Sunderland do get promoted. It's been bigged up so much that it's been called the most high-profile signing in Championship history, which is certainly one that's up for debate, but I think it's in the conversation. And it's going to be fascinating to see in the game tonight, just an hour before, whether he'll get thrown in at the deep end, whether he will be starting in this game. What do you think? Do you think Regis Lebris may pull the trigger on that one?
I don't think he will. I think I pointed out when Sunderland did originally sign him that he's not played a lot of minutes this season for Roma. So to throw him into such a big game of this magnitude, I think would be a huge risk, not only for confidence of the player, but also just physically. Can he come into the demands of the game? Maybe, maybe not. So I wouldn't expect him to start. I think he needs time to get up to speed. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him involved in some capacity towards probably the last half an hour of the game, whether Sunderland are ahead or they need to break Burnley down or either side really. Either way, I think he's going to have an impact regardless because he's got the quality, because he can control the tempo of a game and also break a defence down.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he did start, because Regis Lebris obviously worked with him at Lorient, knows how to get the best out of him. So maybe he will just think, why not? Let's just chuck him in. But I think the most likely scenario is what you say there, Justin, that he does come off the bench in the second half and he's going to get a mighty ovation from the travelling Sunderland fans when he does. I'm sure of that. But it's going to be a really, really exciting one, finally watching him in a Sunderland shirt and seeing how he takes to the game. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of neutrals keeping an eye on how he does when he officially gets going. But it's all just about building some minutes in those legs and making him into a regular starter for Sunderland, doesn't it? But, from what we've heard of him, he's a very talented player. So when he finally does get going, he could be one hell of a force to stop, couldn't he? And Sunderland will jump above Burnley with a win in this one, Justin. And with them getting back-to-back league wins last time, they'll be fancying their chance of getting something here, won't they? It is worth mentioning Sunderland have been going with a 4-4-2 recently, so even if Enzo Lefebvre were to start in this game, it would be fascinating to see how that would work, considering they've got back-to-back wins with this 4-4-2 formation. But yeah, the chance to jump above Burnley, I think they'll be licking their lips at the sight of that. But at the same time, I think point would be a good result at Turf Moor, wouldn't it?
Well, I think both sides will be looking at that and going, a point here isn't a bad result. I think Sunderland don't make up any ground on Burnley, so there's a pragmatic side of it there. But also Sunderland going away to Turf Moor, getting 4 points off Burnley this season, I think would be very positive, a very positive thing. But that's not really how the Championship works. I don't think neither manager will be going into the game and drilling that into the players. So yeah, it's all about the game plans in this one. The teams are so defensively well drilled. It's who blinks first. It's who's brave enough to come out of their shape a little bit and take that chance. And that's how I feel the game's going to go.
It's now time for our second tier bet builder with SBK. Now, with SBK, you don't just get an ordinary bet builder. They offer you fresh legs as well, because it's blooming annoying, isn't it, when you've backed a player to score and he gets subbed off, isn't it, Justin?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Thank you. But you don't need to worry about it with Fresh Legs by SBK, because if you've backed a player to score and they get subbed off after 5 minutes because of a fractured eyelash, it means the bet rolls over to the player coming on. It's the same for a shot on target or a card. What we're saying is you're still in the game, and SBK are the only bookmaker offering this on every Championship game this season, meaning there really is no better place to bet on the second tier. So sign up for SBK right now and join the thousands of people already taking advantage of Fresh Legs every weekend. And on top of that, SBK are offering a massive 50% boost on any bet builder for Burnley versus Sunderland. A 50% boost? They've lost their damn minds, Justin. This offer is limited to a maximum of £5 stake, and users will require to opt in. And so, every Friday, we make our own bet builder with 4 selections, all relating to our game of the week. So that's 2 for Justin and 2 for me. Justin, kick us off. What's your first selection in the bet builder?
I've gone with Adil Al-Shish to have a shot on target. Now, Al-Shish has only played 8 games this season, but he has played in the last 6 games and started the last 4. The tricky attacker is a prolific shot taker, though. Specifically, in his last 3 games, he's accumulated 12 shots overall and 6 on target. So I think if anyone's going to test James Trafford and Burnley, it's going to be Al-Shish in this game. What do you say?
I would agree with you. He's a bit of a strange player because he looks threatening, but doesn't actually do much. he's someone who's flattered to deceive a fair bit, but he has looked threatening, but hasn't actually produced much of note in the last 3 league games. He did play quite well against Stoke in the Cup, but apart from that, we're still yet to see him really take his chance of being in the Sunderland first team, which he hasn't had many chances of this season. But yeah, he's certainly having a fair few pops, his old Al-Shish. So yeah, I think this is a sensible selection. Just knowing the numbers you mentioned there with his shots, yeah, makes complete and utter sense to have this. My first selection for the bet builder is Sunderland to have over 10.5 shots. Ryan's card pick of the week isn't happening this week, and that's because my eyes nearly fell out of my head when I saw SBK's price on Sunderland to have over 10.5 shots. I just could not resist including this in the bet builder. It's just over 2-1, which I thought was a very generous price. I mean, Sunderland to have over 10.5 shots is quite a low amount anyway, but Sunderland have had over 10.5 shots in 10 of their last 11 games. They love having a pop. So just over 2-1 seems very big to me. I mean, the reason why SBK have gone with that is because it's Burnley, and that's understandable with their defensive record. But in Burnley's last game at Turf Moor, Stoke managed 14 shots against them. And that's Stoke, the lowest scorers in the division, and they're not very good. So I think Sunderland will get chances to pull the trigger. Whether they actually score is another question. But they definitely won't be afraid to chance their arm, Justin. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, dare I suggest that having a young team with a little bit of naivety about them is going to have an impact on where Sunderland take their shots from. You know, you mentioned that Burnley don't concede a lot of good shots in dangerous areas. I think if you're getting around 20, 25 yards of that Burnley goal, you're probably more than likely to have a young player have a rush of blood and take a pot shot. And I think, Adel Al-Shisha's stats probably show that. 12 shots in his last 3 games. It's a lot of shots. And based on those averages, he's going to take 4 of those. So, yeah, I'd back that all day.
Yeah, it just seemed like a crazy price to me. So I'll happily include that in the old bet builder, Justin, to boost up the odds a further bit more. Let's go on to your next selection, dear boy.
I've gone with under 2.5 goals here. Very good defences. Very, very good defences. If you love defensive, organised, tactile football, then this is your fix, ladies and gentlemen. But I am going to be leaning on Burnley being the home team for this one. There have only been 5 occasions where there have been more than 2 goals in a game involving them. And 2 of them came in the first 2 games of the season with big wins against Luton and Cardiff. Now, considering, as I mentioned before, both of these managers they do sit on the pragmatic side of the football spectrum. If this game has more than 2 goals in it, I will eat a shoe. I am joking. I won't eat a shoe. It's dangerous. It's unhealthy.
We can make that happen. We can make you eat a shoe, Justin, if you want.
Why can we make that happen?
Well, what if it's... Well, I mean, you just said it first of all, but what if it was... what if we did one of those things where we have someone design a cake that looks like something, and...
That's not a punishment.
Well, it's technically eating a shoe,
if you make a cake that is a shoe based and there are more than 2 goals in this game, I will eat it. 100%.
Well, there we go then.
We'll not question it.
Well, you should have thought about that loophole when you made the claim in the first place. Anything else you want to add on the 2.5 goal selection?
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm pretty good with that.
Good. We'll sort out a cake for you. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a staple pick of our bet builders nowadays whenever we've got Burnley involved, isn't it? Just under 2.5 goals, because Burnley games aren't goal fests at all. So it's just a pretty safe pick, really. So we'll happily take that to boost up the odds a bit further. But the final selection in our bet builder is Burnley to win. Now, I'll start off by saying I find this one really hard to call. In fact, I find Burnley games hard to call in general because they can be a mixed bag at times. But no matter what Burnley team turns up, they always find a way to get a result, seemingly. And that's why I'm backing them here. And of course, Sunderland are a great side. They'll undoubtedly give Burnley a tough game, and they'll certainly give them a few frights along the way, but it's hard to ignore Burnley's ridiculous defensive record and Scott Parker's record in games against fellow promotion sides. Both are sublime, so that's why I'm just edging towards the Burnley win here. And as I was saying, I don't think it'll be straightforward, but Burnley are simply the experts in the Championship at taking the zip out of a game and killing it dead. And that's why I fancy them to get the job done tonight, Justin.
Yeah, I think if you're going to lean towards a team here, it's going to be a Burnley. Just because, again, they're at home, it's under the lights. There is an element of unpredictability with that. Sunderland do have a decent record in these games, but I think Burnley and Scott Parker's record in these games is perhaps a lot better. And I think with the quality and probably maturity that Burnley have, the likes of Jay Rodriguez, he's probably got more experience than the entire Sunderland starting 11 that they're going to put out. So based on that, I would edge towards a Burnley win. It's a tentative one because I think this game has the classic cliches of a draw, but home advantage. That dial of promotion needed to be turned up for Scott Parker. Yeah, I think they'll get the job done.
Yeah, I do as well. You're absolutely right as well. Jay Rodriguez has lived many lifetimes, and that's why Burnley and the...
and Ashley Barnes.
Yeah, exactly. And Ashley Barnes as well. We could go through quite a few of their players. They've all lived several lifetimes, and they should have the experience to get the job done in this one. So our bet builder for Burnley v Sunderland tonight looks like this. Adil Al-Shish to have a shot on target. Sunderland have over 10.5 shots, under 2.5 goals, and Burnley to win. A £5 stake on that bet builder returns a whopping £205 thanks to SBK's 50% boost. But remember, if you don't fancy our bet builder with SBK, you can create your own bet builder from a range of markets. T's and C's apply. Over 18s only. And please do gamble responsibly. Justin, let's take a quick break. After that, we'll go through the rest of our predictions for this weekend. Welcome back to the second tier preview show brought to you by SBK. We're looking ahead to a big weekend of championship action, and it's now time for us to make some blooming predictions. So in each preview episode of the second tier, Justin and I will each pick a banker, a team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider. So someone we think is going to win, but is bigger odds with our friends at SBK than their opponent. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do a forfeit, which is to be a mascot at an EFL game next season. And the current scores look like this. It's 25-21 to Justin Peach. I was the only one to get a point last time out after Justin drew another blank, but he did manage to win a point on Wednesday night with Blackburn beating Portsmouth, which was a game in hand for him after it was abandoned not long ago. So there's still a 4-point gap, which is the same as it was last time out. But it's got to be said, Justin Peach is in a very sticky patch because for the last 4 preview shows, he's only managed to accumulate 2 points. Justin, you've got just 2 bankers right in 4 shows. What is going on?
I understand you have to build tension. You have to build this sense of, oh, there's a wobble. You know, like the Sky Sports do a really good job of it. There's nothing. There's nothing. I'm not worried. I'm not overthinking it. I'm just as I am. I'm coasting along. I'm getting along here. I'm fine. I'm happy. Life's good. I'm making bankers. I'm picking bankers that are, I just got one. Blackburn Portsmouth. I've just got one, Ryan.
Do you hear all these ramblings, ladies and gents? It sounds like the ramblings of a man who is feeling the pressure. He is feeling the pressure. And that's why he's heading into this weekend with the fans calling for him to go. And that's why he knows he needs results this weekend. So let's see whether he can pull it out the bag. Justin Peach, kick us off. What is your banker for this weekend?
I'm going with the Bramall Lane banker. Sheffield United to win at home to Norwich City on Saturday afternoon. Sheffield United at home is always a big draw for me. Norwich are a good side. This is the big thing you've got to point out. They are a very good side. But I think getting back to winning ways at Bramall Lane is very, very important for Chris Wilder if they're going to get that form going once again. They have stuttered a little bit. They lost to Cardiff in the FA Cup last weekend as well, which adds to the 2 winless league games. But Norwich, they're not great travellers either. They've only won 2 in 10. And I think Blade have Norwich's number as well. They're unbeaten in the last 8 games against the Canaries, which I don't think. I don't like the term bogey teams, but that's a lot of football matches, and that might be a game. I know you don't like me bounding around the illogical, but there's clearly some substance to it that Norwich don't perform well against the Blades. So Sheffield United to win at home against Norwich. That's me.
Surprised you didn't mention Boya Sain's missing. That seems like quite a big thing to point out, Justin.
I don't like to concentrate on the opposition and to play your own game.
Okay, that's fine. Boya Sain's will be missing for this because he is in the midst of a 6-game ban for spitting, which is obviously a big blow considering he's their top scorer this season, his division's top scorer this season. But yeah, Norwich have plenty of threats, it's got to be said, even with Boya Sain's absent. Could one of them be Josh Sargent, Justin? It's because he made his long-awaited return in the Cup against Brighton after nearly 3 months out with injury. Norwich have undoubtedly missed him, and he'll be a big threat to your banker if he does feature, doesn't he, Justin?
Yeah, it does make me a little bit nervous because Josh Sargent does equal goals, and when he's been out for a while, he comes back with a vengeance, doesn't he? He really does get up and running very, very quickly. And I think with Boya Sain's being absent from the game, it might thrust Josh Sargent into action probably a little bit sooner than maybe he feels. That being said, I feel like it might be a game too soon for him to start. Probably will get minutes. For example, if Norwich are losing at half time, I won't be surprised to see him come on at half time. But they do need to wrap him up and ease him back in because this is where muscle injuries become prevalent. So I will urge this to Johannes Thorup to just cautiously bring him in. Don't rush him. Just for this week, don't rush him. Take it easy.
I wonder why you're saying that. Let's go to my banker for this weekend. It's Leeds United to beat Sheffield Wednesday at Elland Road on Sunday lunchtime. Of course, a big Yorkshire derby, and it's going to be on free-to-air TV in the UK. This game will be on ITV1, which must make it the first EFL game shown on free-to-air TV in a long time, I think. So hopefully it's a good game for the neutral. But I would be surprised if we saw anything other than a Leeds United win. We should all know by now that Elland Road is an extremely tough place to go. It's 9 wins in 10 league games for Leeds there. And by and large, they've been dealing with teams very comfortably. Suffered a bit of a rick against Blackburn on New Year's, but I'd be surprised if that happened 2 home games in a row, I've got to say, because by and large, Leeds are just taking teams and not even pushing them aside, kind of throwing them aside. I still don't think we've seen them at their best yet, but their strength usually shines through. And look, Wednesday are a good side. They've got an excellent manager, and I reckon they'll give Leeds a tough game here. I just think Leeds will have too much for them, as they so often have done this season. Interestingly, it seems like Shea Charles will be available for them, despite being recalled from his loan. I've seen reports that he'll be allowed to play their next 2 games because of a 7-day ruling, which is a big boost for Wednesday without a doubt. They will need a lot more than just him, though. And I will also admit I am aware that Wednesday are a bit of a bogey team for Leeds at Elland Road. Since the turn of the century, Leeds have only beaten them at home 3 times in 11 meetings, which is a bit concerning. But I will be shocked if we saw anything other than Leeds making it 4 wins from 12, Justin Peach.
Bogey team? But what about the bogey hour, Ryan? What time's kickoff?
Are we
don't
really doing
don't
this?
sigh. This has substance. Okay, you roll your eyes, you scratch your brow. I'm sorry. There is fact to this that Leeds struggle with lunchtime kickoffs, and to make it worse, it's Sunday lunchtime. How many people that I'm not going to accuse the atmosphere of being flat, but how many people would be tucking into a Sunday roast at that time? Come on, shout a number at me.
I don't care.
There's a lot of people, including players' families. Now they've got to do this on a Sunday at lunchtime. Tough old time that is for Leeds, and against a bogey team on Wednesday as well. Wow. This is a risky old banker there. Risky. So risky.
You're such an
Stop
idiot.
staring into the void. I'm not an idiot. Listen, come to the end of the season, I'm going to tally up how many lunchtime kickoffs Leeds have had. It's going to be a lot. And I'm going to see how many they've won. And I'm going to be vindicated.
I've said it a million times before, but believe it or not, I still don't think the time that a game kicks off has any bearing on the results of a football
Man who's
match.
never played football.
So, what? I don't even want to justify that anymore. So I'm just going to swiftly move on, Justin, because we spoke yesterday about the bonkers fan forum at Sheffield Wednesday, which was topped off by Chansiri dropping the bombshell at the end that Shea Charles has been recalled by Southampton. Now, as just mentioned, he seems like he will be available for the next 2 games. But the Sheffield Star is now reporting that he could indeed go back to Sheffield for the remainder of the season, but with Sheffield United. Can you imagine if that would happen, Justin? It would be carnage.
It would be carnage, and it puts Shea Charles in such an uncomfortable position because reading the detailed log of the fans forum by the brilliant journalist who covered it, Chansiri said that Charles wasn't ready for Southampton, and then a recall came shortly after that. Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you could argue that Saints became agitated with the Sheffield Wednesday owner and recalled him out of pettiness. That could be it. But they're probably looking at a young player and maybe want to remove him out of that powder keg. And Sheffield United at the moment seems a calmer place, but I'd be worried for him because I don't want Sheffield Wednesday fans to point the finger at him. That would be unfair.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Justin, because it's not necessarily down to him, is it? It's just what his club have told him is happening, exactly. And then he's just
it's the choice of playing football, isn't it? Or going to a club that unfortunately are rivals to the club you're just previously on loan at. What would you rather do? Would you rather continue your career and progress and develop, or sit on the bench for a team who's getting panned every week?
And they also happen to be a promotion chaser, don't they? So it does make sense for his career which won't be what Wednesday fans want to hear, but it would make sense if that were to happen. Plus, Sheffield United are a bit low on numbers when it comes to central midfielders right now, so they could definitely use someone like him. But it will piss off the blue half of Sheffield, I'm sure. I'm pretty sure about that. But there we go, ladies and gents. Those are mine and Justin's 2 bankers for this weekend. And every week, we combine these 2 selections with a bet on the full-time results of our game of the weekend to create our very own second-tier featured multiple with SBK. But from now on, we're also including one of our outsider picks every week. Now, you may remember that our producers have been choosing which outsider to go with in recent weeks, and they were repeatedly getting it wrong, i.e. not choosing me. And they've had enough of getting the blame for our multiple not winning each week, so they've decided to put it to you, the listener. So we put a poll on Twitter of which outsider to go for, and the votes are in. So this week, we're going for this multiple. Burnley, Leeds, Sheffield United, and Swansea, all to win. A £10 bet on that multiple returns a mega £194 thanks to SBK's 20% ACCA boost. So if you make 4 of your own selections, you'll get a 20% boost on your winnings. T's and C's apply, over 18s only, and please do gamble responsibly. We'll talk about my outsider very shortly, but first of all, Justin, let's go to yours. What's your outsider for this weekend?
I've gone with Hull City to win away at Millwall on Saturday lunchtime. The Tigers versus the Lions, no less.
Ooh, it's the battle of the jungle.
Yeah, the apex predators. Lions aren't in jungles. Just going to point that one out.
Aren't they? No, they're supposed to be more Africa, aren't they? It's the battle of Africa. Are tigers in Africa?
No.
No, they're not, are they? It's a battle
goodness.
Nonetheless.
Yeah, we're going to have to catch up on that and have a bit of an education there. That's an incredible misstep from you. But yes, the Tigers versus the Lions, the battle of the apex predators, I think would be a better line. But I think more on the football, I think Alex Neil's still finding his feet with this Millwall team. And I genuinely believe that Hull are heading in the right direction with Ruben Selles. Millwall haven't been poor under Alex Neil so far, but getting wins on the board has been hard to come by. Hull's performance are continuing to improve and get better. They've obviously beat Blackburn. They put in a good shift and lost against Middlesbrough, and they drew against Leeds. There have been lots of positives right now with Hull. So for an outsider, I do fancy it. As I say, this is an outsider Millwall favourite for a reason. It's at the Den. Alex Neil's new manager. He's trying to harness that atmosphere. But Hull going away is a tough game, but one I think I fancy. I do.
Lions are not typically found in jungles, but rather in grasslands and savannas. The term king of the jungle is a misnomer, as jungles are not the natural habitat for lions. There you go, Justin.
I didn't need that information. You did.
I know. I was just making sure that the listeners had full context here. So not typically found, but it sounds like it may happen at some point. I don't know. What are we talking about again?
Football. Come on, football.
Oh, yeah. Hull to win away at Millwall. Yeah, sure, sounds good to me. Nothing else to add there, really, to be honest.
Fair enough. There we go.
Great. I'm sure all the Millwall fans will be delighted with that analysis of that game. Oh, dear me. Let's go to my outsider for this weekend. It's Swansea to win away at Cardiff in the South Wales Derby at Saturday lunchtime. Oh, the South Wales Derby. I love the South Wales Derby. It's one of the fiercest rivalries in the country and continues to be, even though they do face each other quite a lot nowadays, don't they? But I fancy an away win here. The main reason for that is because Swansea's record in this fixture is superb. They've had a lot of the bragging rights in the last decade. That's fair to say, the last decade and a bit, really. 8 wins in 12 against their big rivals, just 2 losses in that time. That is an impressive record to have against your big rivals, isn't it? And Swansea have also got the bragging rights in terms of their ambitions this season as well. They're mid-table, looking at potentially flirting with the playoff picture. Meanwhile, Cardiff very much looking over their shoulder. In fairness to Cardiff, they have had a mini revival as of late. They're unbeaten in 4 league games. Got some pretty impressive results in that time, including becoming the first team to inflict a loss on Watford at Vicarage Road under Tom Cleverley, and getting a point away at Middlesbrough. And they even beat Sheffield United away in the Cup at the weekend too. So, yeah, it's been pretty decent for Cardiff actually recently. However, having said that, they've not had much luck in front of their own fans. No win in 6 at the Cardiff City Stadium. And look, Swansea are a good side. We've seen that on plenty of occasions this season. They can blow a bit hot or cold, but heading into this one, they'll be well up for it because obviously it's a derby, and they'll definitely fancy their chances here, Justin.
Yeah, I think this is a game that it never really falls into typical derby fashion, because these are a lot more interesting derbies than the usual derbies that we get. They're usually ball draws, aren't they? I mean, you look at this Steel City derby, it was very tempered and very nervy at times, whereas this one, there's a bit more blood and thunder in this one, and it's a nice break from the usual derby games that we do get. That's not a discredit to the other games. There's nothing about that. There's just a lot of aggression in these ones.
There's always drama, isn't there, in the South Wales?
Always a little bit of drama. It was Callum Robinson, was it last season, where he threw the ball at a face of a Swansea player? Well, that might have been the season before. But it just brings up moments. It just brings up moments like that, doesn't it? Where there's a bit of stupidity amongst experienced players. But I think with that, there's always an element of risk. But I think if you're looking at form, Swansea City are sitting a little bit more pretty than Cardiff. Although Cardiff have, I know I mentioned in yesterday's show, they have been improving. They have been become a little bit harder to break down, which is a good thing, especially against a Swansea team who want to dominate the ball. But if you are going to throw a little bit of weight behind a team in this one, you're probably going to go with the one that is generally just in a better position, both playing wise, squad wise, and form wise as well. And Swansea probably edge Cardiff in that terms.
Yeah, maybe not form-wise, because as we say, Cardiff have picked up quite a bit recently. But yeah, based off everything that I alluded to just a second ago, Swansea definitely the team that I'm backing in this one. But yeah, we have had plenty of great moments over the years, haven't we? I mean, that Ben Cabango winner in the 96th minute is one that always stands out for me because of the utter scenes in the away end. So yeah, it always promises to be a cracking game. But it's interesting, Justin, because Cardiff and Swansea may soon be competing for qualification in European football. It's because them, Newport and Wrexham have agreed to enter the Welsh League Cup. So they'd compete against teams from the Welsh Premier, i.e. the Wales local league, and the winner would qualify for the Europa Conference League. The plans need to be approved by the English FA first, but could happen as soon as next season. And the idea is that it will generate more money for football in Wales, as well as improving the country's coefficient ranking. The clubs will still carry on playing in the English leagues and cups, but they will no longer be able to qualify for Europe in English competition. We had spoken about this before, Justin, but it looks like it could very well be happening now, and seems like an interesting idea.
It is an interesting idea, and I think if it does go ahead, it'll probably be one that doesn't last too long, in my opinion. I think if the Welsh Premier League teams are comfortable with it, then fine, then go with it, because I think it's going to impact them and their ability to qualify and progress in European competition. I think Welsh teams have seen a lot of success this season in the Europa Conference League, for example. But that will get quashed if the likes of Swansea and Cardiff get dropped into it. If it is going to boost Welsh football, then sure, go for it. At the same time, I think there'll be a lot of jealousy from and a lot of cynicism, I think would be the polite way of saying it, from supporters of clubs based in England, which will be interesting to see.
I think I definitely agree with you on the last bit. I think from the post we put out on social media this week, it really took off and had a lot of fans of opposition sides saying, well, if they don't like it, then we should go back to their own leagues, which is
treading on careful ground.
Treading on careful ground, but unfortunately, that's not unusual on X nowadays, is it? But yeah, it's. I think it's a good idea. I really do, because I get what you were saying, Justin, about how the teams currently in the Welsh Premier may be looking at it going, "Oh, when's our chance going to come in Europe?" And yeah, in the short term, it may be quite annoying for them, but in the long term, they're definitely going to benefit from it because, I mean, you mentioned the new Saints, for example, who are in the Europa Conference League right now. They're in the actual group stage or the league table stage, whatever it's called nowadays. They've won one game. They're near the bottom. They're not going to qualify for the next round. So what's the point? The only way Wales is going to rise up those coefficient rankings is if they have a team actually capable of getting through to a decent stage. And Swansea, Cardiff, maybe Wrexham, if they get promoted in the near future, are definitely in a much better position to do that. No disrespect to Newport, but that's just the way it goes. So that's why it makes a lot more sense to me, because if they keep doing that and they keep doing well and competing well in European competition, then that means they'll rise up the coefficient rankings. That means they'll get more places when it comes to Europe, and more money will be coming into Wales at a grassroots level as well. So they'll get better players coming in at these clubs. It just makes a lot of sense to me. And I guess the Welsh Premier as well will have a lot more money flying around it as well. So maybe they'll be able to attract better players as well. So in the long term, it makes complete and utter sense for me.
I'll add this in just as a closing statement on this. Does this give Cardiff and Swansea an unfair advantage? They get access to prize money that no other English team is going to get access to. So does that therefore give them an unfair advantage in their domestic competition? That's the other side of the coin that you've got to consider, because they're going to have access to European money. They're going to get prize money for progressing through rounds and TV money as well. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing to consider as well.
I think that's a very valid point to mention, Justin. I think that's absolutely spot on. And I think they may also have a bit of an advantage when it comes to attracting players compared to other championship clubs as well. On the spin side, you could also say they may have to play more games now than your average championship side, because if they do get to the knockout stage of the Europa Conference League, then I don't know how many games you actually play, but you're looking at an extra 10 games or so at least in your normal season, which is going to be difficult for a side like Cardiff or Swansea or Wrexham or Newport to deal with when they're playing 46 games in a league season plus all the other English cups. So, yeah, I think it does balance out. It's going to be very interesting to see how it does work say when we're sat here in 5 years' time, how we'll look back on it and see how it's going and how it works then. But I think in the long term, it's just a lot of thumbs up from a Welsh football perspective. But there we go. Bit of a diversion there from us. But it now means we've done our predictions for the weekend, and it's time for this.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
Yes, it is, Mr. Barman. Justin is going to give me 6 clues about a championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last, and I simply have to guess who it is based off those clues. They must have made over 200 championship appearances in their career. And don't forget the Dexter Blackstock rule. So what have you got for me, Justin Peach, you complete and utter bastard?
Lovely to hear from you, as always. I have made 346 appearances, scoring 36 goals.
Ooh, that's a lot of appearances, isn't it?
A lot of football.
That is a lot of football. And you're looking at around 1 in 10, a goal every 1 in 10 games there, which is pretty good. Yeah, not bad at all. I'll go with, I don't know, Matt Oakley.
Matt Oakley is a great shout, but it's not him. Do you want your next clue, Ryan?
I absolutely do, Justin.
We'll get this ball rolling. I made my debut in 2004. My technical debut in 2004, age 16, before making my professional debut in 2007.
What do you mean technical debut?
So he wasn't professional at this point, technically.
So he made his debut at the age of 16?
He made his debut at the age of 16, and then he made his professional debut in 2007, yeah.
That's very confusing. So when did he first play a game in senior football?
He played his first game in senior football in 2004, age 16.
At the age of 16? Okay,
yes.
Great.
And then he made his professional debut 3 years later.
Okay. I still don't really know what the difference is, but that's fine. I'll go with, 16's very young, isn't it?
Yeah. Just done his GCSEs, I think.
Yeah.
It's not.
I'll go with, I don't know, John Joe Shelvey.
John Joe Shelvey. Oh, John Joe Shelvey. Could be back in England, actually. I've seen rumours, but it's not him.
Yeah, apparently he's been in with Burnley, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Is it him?
No.
Oh, good, thank you. I knew he made his debut at quite a young age. I don't think he made 300 appearances, though. I didn't think about that.
No. So the next clue probably gives a little more credence to the last clue, but I start out in non-league.
Usually how it works.
Yes, it is. I start out in non-league with 100 career appearances in my career. before I made my championship debut in 2009, age 21. So he'd already had 100 games under his belt before he hit 21.
In non-league?
In non-league.
Okay. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? I'm trying to think of non-league midfielders, going off the basis that it is a midfielder. I'll go with Anthony Pilkington.
Anthony Pilkington. Ooh. It's not him.
Don't know if he started in non-league, but I can't think of where he started his career, so I don't think it was a bad guess at all, Justin. What's the next clue, please?
I've played for 3 clubs in the Championship, including Reading and Nottingham Forest.
Not going to tell me the other one?
No.
Okay. I've got someone in mind who I'm pretty sure played for Reading. I think he played for Nottingham Forest as well. 300 appearances is a lot, though, but I'm going to put him out there anyway, Justin, just to test the water. John Oster.
It's not John Oster.
Did he play for those two?
I know he played for Reading. I can't quite make out if he played for Forest or not.
He's a very Forest kind of player.
Yes, I get what you mean. Like one of those players who was signed, made 6 appearances, then left.
Yeah, I can't recall where he started his career before that, so I'm fine with that.
The next clue is, and this is your 5th clue. You've not got many left, Ryan.
No.
I had a career resurgence with Wycombe at the age of 32.
With Wycombe?
With Wycombe.
Is it Gareth McCleary?
Bollocks.
Yeah.
It is Gareth McCleary.
Yes, there we go, people. Gareth McCleary is someone who I know has been around football for a long time, but I struggled to know his career that well, although I know he did play for Reading, Forest. Who was the other one he played for?
It's Wycombe. He played for Wycombe in the Championship.
Oh, okay. That does make sense, actually.
He played a lot of football for Reading, 270 appearances overall, 240 odd in the Championship for Reading as well. Yeah, a lot of games when he moved from Forest. Incredible amount of games, actually.
Yeah, he was a good player, Gareth McCleary. Yeah. Really good player.
Still playing now.
Always confuses me because his first name isn't spelled like Gareth. I think there's 2 A's in there, which is really confusing when you're doing tweets.
It's Gareth.
Gareth McCleary. But yeah, he was a good player. He's got an absolute screamer for Reading, from what I remember. A volley from outside the box. That was an absolute beauty, that was. But yeah, and he's still going strong, isn't he? As you say,
still
Justin. What a career from an old Gazza. What's the final clue, Peachy?
The final clue is, and it surprised me a bit, I'm a fully fledged international turning out for Jamaica 24 times, where I was involved in the 2015 CONCACAF Gold Cup final defeat to Mexico.
Oh.
If you know your CONCACAF.
Yeah, love CONCACAF all the time. Yeah. Can't get enough of it. Yeah, but good career. What a career. Starting off in non-league. It's good stuff. You got to applaud it, Justin.
Well, this is it. I know he moved to Forest from non-league. So I think if you look at it, I thought he came through the academy at Forest, researching him. And I was like, oh, he started out in non-league. So I think any player who makes that step up from non-league into professional football has done a very good job. And Gareth McCleary really did make a run of it because, as I say, he's still a professional footballer now for Wycombe. And he's 37.
What a boy. So we tip our hats to you, Gareth McCleary, and we tip our hats to me as well for getting the Craig Bryson pub quiz this week. And we tip our hats to you, ladies and gents, for listening to the Second Tier Preview Show, brought to you by SBK. We'll, of course, be back again on Sunday with reaction to all the weekend's action. So we look forward to seeing you then for that. But this has been the Second Tier Preview Show, brought to you by SBK. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.